Hey boys, welcome back to KSP. Our goal today is simple, get the terrier, and it actually goes somewhat well. So with that said, stop the jibber jabber, let's begin. Now, in our research and development department, we can see, in advanced rocketry, the Terrier. A very efficient liquid fuel engine that has a bunch of delta V in a vacuum, or that has a bunch of efficiency generally in a vacuum. Which this was actually told by one of my commenters. Thanks for that. Now, we're going to continue with the ICBM but Jeb series, just with a few upgrades. Mainly, the cool little fins that I found out are actually much better at maneuvering the rocket. Because, you know, it's kind of how fins work. I just had to set this, and then I realized you can't put 4 of them on for some reason, which is pretty stupid, but, you know. And now we have new fins, meaning a new name. The new name is the Ouagadougou Jeb. What an awesome name. Also, Ouagadougou is a country in Africa somewhere, but I don't know. And for some reason changed my flag back to the squad flag, which I didn't really like, so I changed it back to the monkey flag. To represent the little homunculus living inside my brain. As said, launch 1 is away. Well, never mind. I instead decided to wait for sunrise because it'd be easier to fly or some shit, I don't know. Just be generally easier to fly. So, time warping. Yippee! I was thinking of installing solar panels and I realized I didn't really need them, so let's just do this. And now, we do indeed play. Woohoo! Now, this flight was actually pretty boring, so I decided to cut it out. Well, the only real difference between this launch is that I actually figured out how to use the decouplers, and it turns out you can't use 2 of them, because then it won't connect. Because, you know, that makes total fucking sense, but yeah, sure. Also, why do I need decouplers? And why can't I just make all of the engines and fuel in one single super stage? Let's find that out, shall we? Well, if you just have everything in one super stage, there is still going to be dead weight when even with the parts that have lots of fuel. Our old design had decouplers, I just didn't know how to use them at the time. So, we weren't really dropping off that dead weight, making our rocket very, very heavy. Let's continue, shall we? Now, this would be an orbit. That would be pretty good. It's just that the part of deorbiting would not be so good. Just look at this. Now, I had actually made a few critical mistakes. The first one was not lining up my spin correctly, meaning I ended up in a polar orbit, which used a lot more fuel. And also, I left it to burn for too long. Which also used up a bunch of more fuel than we were supposed to. Meaning, when it came time to deorbit, I would have abso-fucking-lutely no fuel to deorbit with. Yippee. Well done. The rest of this flight is just me deorbiting, big quotes there, the craft. And, as you can guess, I wasn't very successful, so I'm just gonna speed it up, and we're gonna get to the launch that shit actually happened in. Also known as the launch we actually got the Terrier in, too, so yippee! Yep, we're back. That flight was very unsuccessful, mostly due to bad fuel management. But the Ouagadougou Jeb will succeed. Cue the music. Well, we're pretty much in space. Now to begin the orbital burn. Also, turns out my gravity turn explanation was completely wrong. I'm sorry for that. I just didn't know what it was. I still didn't do the gravity turn at all. So my orbits could be a lot more efficient, and hell, I could probably even make it to the Mun with this thing if I learn how to do a gravity turn correctly. So I'm gonna load up this specific rocket. I'm gonna go do things with it. And hey, would you look at that? We're in orbit. Wow! And we have just enough delta V to hopefully. And also, this is kind of around the time I realized this Jeb is not in this rocket. Val is. So, like, I think Jeb died because we terminated him and the ship. So, yeah, Val's the only crew member that lives, which is pretty fun. Well, it's almost time for the deorbit. Let's see how that goes, shall we? Well, that was a pretty successful-ish deorbiting. If you're wondering why I was spinning the craft, that was because I knew that the Science Junior would burn up if I didn't. Because the Science Junior loves to get hot despite this heat shield, and, well, I've already had it burn up once on me, and I was not gonna let that happen again. So, we done it. But then again, KSP, it's the type of game that lives to throw curveballs at you, despite what you do. So, spinning the craft, quite genuinely, does not matter. When the game thinks it's so funny to throw shit like this at you. Why? What did I do? Whatever. We still got enough science to get the Terrier. And I will keep playing this goddamn game until I make it to that fucking cheese mon. I will see if that shit's made of cheese. And no crappy parachutes will stop me from doing that. Do we understand? Alright, bye.